those comments are real. Those comments in response to people saying, this is awful, this should not have happened. And the people saying, well, they had it coming, they deserved it. That is real. We know that the rhetoric around the school has led to the response of the people who are saying that this community had this coming.
The police name these fires in BC of churches suspicious. That means arson. And again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, Sheila. I'm shocked at the lack of outrage by those in the media. The idea of 2 mosques being burnt to the ground, could you imagine the outcry about that? And I certainly don't want any religious institution burnt to the ground. But this seems, I think suspicious is underplaying it, Sheila. The idea that these 2 churches basically both burned down around the same time. And, my suspicion, and I might be wrong, I don't have any evidence, I don't have any proof, but it's all about a reaction perhaps to the residential school system. But these were churches that were used by Natives. They're in the here and now community centers. They were used for Native weddings, Native burials, and so on. Whoever burnt these down, if it was arson, just exactly what was the point? What were you hoping to accomplish other than bring misery to a community?
That's the thing. In a small town, whether outside do-gooders like it or not, and anti-religious bigots like it or not, in a small town, and that's often what Indigenous reserves are, is just a small town, they're the community hub. Yeah. They're where you go to mourn. They're where you go to celebrate. They're when you need help with addictions and crisis. It's the church community that is the first place where you can get help. And, when you're hungry, when you're depressed, it's the church. It's always the church. And so if indeed these arsons are retribution for what happened at the residential school, and we don't know that yet. We don't have a clue. They're just saying that this is arson. But if indeed these are retribution for what someone has concluded is mass murder, I guess, against Indigenous people, well, congratulations, you just hurt Indigenous people first. Yeah. You're punishing them. But secondarily, I don't know if you've seen the rhetoric in response to, I noticed that, I think it was Andrew Scheer, maybe it was Aaron O'Toole, one of them. Not that it matters, like they're the same guy.
Just call him Aaron O'Scheer, and that covers both bases. It's like they both went into the teleporter in the Fly movie, and
one of them tweeted something in regards to these arsons. And the whole way down, it was like, well, karma, they had it coming. This is what you get. But all of it was basically like these Catholic churches had it coming. And I know that if anybody else had tweeted that about a mosque fire on Twitter, not only would you be banned from Twitter, your descendants would be banned from Twitter. Your children and your children's children. You would never exist on Twitter. And you would probably have a hate crimes investigation against you. But because this is an arson against a Christian church, that sort of rhetoric is perfectly fine on the internet. If you bring up, I think it was Andrew Scheer, but it could be Aaron O'Toole. Again, they are so not standoutish that I can't even differentiate, and I exist in politics. But if you go down, if you go down, it is just nothing but people saying they had it coming.
But you know what, Sheila? Of all these trolls saying karma and you had it coming and this is a good thing, how many of them, if any of them, live in those communities, right?
They don't care.
Here's the deal. How about sending somebody, a reporter there, and going to all the residents, that lived in that community and say to them, churches are burnt down. Good thing, bad thing. I bet you the overwhelming response would say it's a tragedy, it's a bad thing. This is not a good thing, because otherwise they would have burnt it down themselves en masse. It would be like a scene out of a Frankenstein movie of pitchforks and torches descending upon the church. But nothing could be further from the truth. These were community hubs. And all of these people, and I would imagine so many of them are urbanites, so many of them subscribe to the Antifa way of doing things, which is the fascist way, being violent. They're the ones that are saying, oh, bravo for the church burning to the ground, not the people who are actually going to these churches.
Right. I mean, one of these churches is quite old, or was quite old, is sad to say, but quite old. That means generations of people were married there, buried there, baptized there, received their sacraments there. That's another thing people don't understand. Non-religious people don't understand. I think we're getting a package delivery in the office there, by the way.
You can hear that?
Someone go get the door. But for Catholics, it's not just like the process of like baptize and then you're in the church. There's a successive series of sacraments where you are initiated into the church a little bit as you go. Your first communion, your first confession, your confirmation. All those things are gone, and they're so important. They're so vital in the life of a Catholic, and that's gone. Yeah. And they've done this to Indigenous Catholics.
Yeah.
And I noticed that Ellis Ross, so he's the BC Liberal, again, before people start getting mad, BC Liberals are not necessarily like the federal Liberals. They're sort of this right of center coalition party in BC. You just can't really get elected as a Conservative there provincially. So Ellis Ross, Indigenous himself, and a huge advocate for the Indigenous community, for the right of Indigenous people to determine their own future, and for economic prosperity, and for their involvement in fossil fuel development. So a really great booster of his community. He has spoken out against this. He issued a statement. I found it in the SurreyNowLeader.com. He said, in the aftermath of the horrible discovery at Kamloops, my heart has been filled with hope, watching Indigenous and non-Indigenous Canadians come together to mourn the victims of residential schools. I am in awe of how far we've come. Let it be those feelings of togetherness, community, and shared suffering that we now draw upon in the wake of this horrible incident, rather than hate, anger, and bitterness about the past. Reconciliation isn't about taking revenge for past tragedies. It's about finding a way to chart a path forward so that we can all share a great future. It's about all British Columbians and all Canadians working together to build strong, healthy, prosperous communities in this great country in which we live. We must ensure future generations of Canadians, Indigenous and non-Indigenous, will not be held back by the divisions of the past. Right now, I urge all to stay safe and please be calm. Together, we will get through this. So that's the right response. Yes. However, we haven't heard that from the Prime Minister. And I worry that a lot of the rhetoric around the residential school discovery, the uncertainty that is around it, while people were reporting things as 100% certain that we don't know, I worry that it might have contributed to this. And again, speculation, we don't know. But those comments, those comments are real. Those comments in response to people saying, this is awful, this should not have happened. And the people saying, well, they had it coming, they deserved it. That is real. We know that the rhetoric around the school has led to the response of the people who are saying that this community had this coming.
Oh, hi, friends. What you just saw there is a clip from our Rebel News daily live stream show. It's fun, it's fast, and it's completely unscripted, so you never really know what you're going to get. Just go to rebelnews.com/livestream